The Democratic Party of the United States is urging Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy not to agree to the peace plan proposed by American President Donald Trump. This was written by Philip Gordon, former security advisor to Kamala Harris, in a column for the New York Times. Addressing Zelenskyy, he states that Trump's security guarantees are empty. Philip Gordon notes that doubts about the American leader's willingness to fulfill security guarantees for Ukraine begin with the fact that he has never shown the slightest desire to confront Russia directly, let alone militarily. On the contrary, Trump has significantly reduced U.S. military and financial support for Ukraine and has repeatedly promised to expand U.S.-Russian economic cooperation. The author of the column believes that Trump will not fulfill the key element of a peace agreement, namely, security guarantees for Ukraine equivalent to NATO's Article 5. Philip Gordon's article summarizes the situation as follows.
It would be naive and reckless for Zelenskyy to trade valuable strategic territories for such a dubious guarantee. Instead, he should focus his efforts at the negotiating table on tangible assets that will truly help defend Ukraine and deter Russia far more effectively than promises on paper.
Specifically, Gordon advises Zelenskyy to push for the adoption of a new major U.S. arms package that includes Patriot air defense systems, F-16 fighter jets, and long-range missiles. Meanwhile, the U.S. State Department has renewed its recommendation for American citizens to refrain from traveling to Russia and for those already in the country to leave its territory. The State Department cites numerous high risks associated with terrorism, wrongful detentions, and the arbitrary enforcement of local laws. This recommendation comes against the backdrop of Russia's nearly 4-year-long war against Ukraine.
Putin was offered peace, but instead he spat in America's face. Donald Trump reposted a critical article from the New York Post on his Truth Social page. The article calls Putin the main obstacle to peace in Ukraine. The article was published under the headline, "Statement on the attack on Putin shows that Russia is the only obstacle to peace." The article published by the American president states this after Trump's meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. On December 28 in Mar-a-Lago, the latter agreed to compromise on many points of the peace plan, and Trump declared that he was ready to visit Ukraine to persuade the Ukrainian parliament to make territorial concessions. But after that, Vladimir Putin, referred to as a dictator in the article through Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, stated that the Ukrainians had attacked his residence in the Novgorod region. Because of this, the Russians allegedly had no other choice but to take a tougher stance in the negotiations, said Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov. The article states, "Just think Putin, who has been waging a brutal war for almost 4 years, believes that any violence in his vicinity deserves special outrage. After all, on Christmas, Russia launched 131 drones at Kyiv and other cities, resulting in the deaths of 7 civilians. The Kremlin deliberately targets apartment buildings and power plants to punish ordinary Ukrainians. Russians are abducting children, torturing and executing prisoners. Moreover, Moscow has repeatedly tried to assassinate Zelenskyy." The article cites Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's statement that there was no attack on the residence in SU, and it is noted that Peskov refused to provide evidence.
I don't think there should be any evidence here if that's the marker.
The CIA also did not confirm reports of an attack on Putin's residence, writes the Wall Street Journal, citing U.S. intelligence data. According to the Wall Street Journal, Ukraine attempted to attack a military target that, like Putin's residence, is located in the Novgorod region, but not near it. Putin's New Year's address to Russians, in which he focused on the war, also indicates that he is not seeking peace. The Russian leader separately congratulated the soldiers and commanders of the Russian armed forces who, according to his wording, have taken on the responsibility of fighting for their homeland, for truth and justice. At the same time, the American leader wants peace.